Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I've got a brand new collection on my desk today from Creative Memories. This is the new Legacy of Love collection and I'm going to create a layout with it today. I've actually been working with it for a few weeks and I'm completely smitten with it, and I know that you're going to love it as well. The best way that I can describe the theme of this collection is it has a modern vintage vibe to it, if that makes sense. Perfect for documenting any of your favorite family photos. If I can show you the color palette and the paper designs, really gorgeous. I'm loving the polka dots, the stripes. The color palette's really fun as well, a more muted color palette. There was also a packet of laser cut borders that released with this collection. I can't wait to dive into these. I haven't actually used these as yet. Of course, the variety map pack. I love these cards, whether you're using them on your layout, in pocket pages, whether you like to. I love to fussy cut these and create my own little titles and tags from them. Gorgeous pack of these. We had the sticker pack, and there's some really fun border stickers included in the sticker pack. And of course, the laser cut embellishments. And can I just say, I am seriously crushing on this little typewriter. I haven't used it yet. I love it. I also love this little vintage telephone. How cute is that? So cute. Yeah, but lots of, we've got love hearts, butterflies, flowers. We've got some cogs included as well. You're really going to love this collection. For today's layout, I've actually brought back my Notebook Edge Border Maker cartridge. This Border Maker cartridge, it suits this theme perfectly. This is one of my go-to BMCs. I use it for a lot of my layouts, and I've also brought back in my tag punch. Sadly, this is no longer available, but I mean, it's super easy to make a tag, and I can show you how to do that in today's video. But let's get started because I'm super excited to work with this. I've got a bit of a plan for my layout today, which is good if you've got a starting point. Just clear some space here. I just want to open out my paper packs, brand new paper packs. So I'm just going to use my scissors just to cut out the top of that opening there so I can slide out my papers without crumpling them. Oh, I've left one behind. This would be actually one of my favorite papers. This and the polka dot. Love this paper. It's got the stripe on reverse and the sort of rusty tone. But I'm just wanting a fairly neutral paper for my background today. So let's see. I could go with the notebook paper. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with my favourite stripe. Of course. So I'll just set these aside for now. Now, my photos for today, I've got 3 photos, and I've actually printed these in black and white. Now, I know not everybody, is going to agree with me on that, and that's fine because, as I always encourage you, you do you and what you want for your albums. But I just thought with the colour theme of this collection and the photos that I wanted to document, I thought they'd look really nice in black and white. This is the actual original photo, so you can see there's lots of blues and muted tones. It still would have worked okay with this colour collection, but I just wanted to print these off in black and white. I thought it would suit the theme of the layout that I was going for today. And I've already matted those on some black cardstock. So I've got a 6x4 photo, and then I've got 2 4x3 photos as well. So I'll just set them to the side. And I really want to work with black cardstock for my background. So just get a black sheet of cardstock. I get asked all the time about my little storage envelopes. I keep all of my different cardstock colours in a separate envelope. And I just use my label maker to label each envelope. And I've actually got a pack here. In Australia, I grabbed these at craftonline.com.au, but these are the Universal Crafts brand of extra large plastic storage envelopes. They come in a 5-pack and they're actually quite large. So I think they're about 13 by 13, which is great because you're not going to crumple any of your papers or your cardstock. And then I just store them in my cabinet so that I've got them ready at hand. They're all labelled, ready to go. So I've got a sheet of the black cardstock and I'm just going to check. Sometimes, this is me being fussy, I know, sometimes I actually find the cardstock can be a little larger than 12 by 12. So I like to just bring in my 12-inch trimmer and just check. And yes, this is just a fraction wider. So I'm going to just trim that down. You can see it's just the smallest amount, that it was just a little bit larger. It's not all the time, it's just sometimes I find those sheets to be a little bit wider. It's the same for that side. Okay, so we've got our cardstock. I'm just going to line that up on my cutting mat ready. And I want to layer this piece of paper over the top. What I'm actually going to do first though is I'm going to cut it down to be a little bit smaller than the 12 by 12, but I actually want to tear the top strip of my paper. Now I have searched high and low in my craft space this morning I have a Creative Memories tearing ruler that I got yonks ago. Do you think I could find it? No, I could not. So I'm just going to use my regular Creative Memories ruler, which is fine. It just helps give you a guideline for where you're tearing, and then you can go in and do some more once you've torn that strip away. But basically I've lined up my paper on my cutting mat, my 12 by 12 cutting mat, and I've brought the ruler down 2.25 inches. And I'm just going to tear. Now that that's torn, we can actually save this and use it for because I want to use the reverse side of this paper. So I can use that for my border maker system. So I've got my torn edge, but I want a far more distressed edge than what the ruler's given me. So I'm actually just going to open out my scissors and I'm just running that along that top edge to rough that up. You can see I've accidentally just cut that there. It does not matter. That's the effect I'm going for. I know this is not for everybody. Not everybody likes that textured finished. I do, and where I've actually torn that paper a little bit, I'm just going to curl it a little bit with my fingers, and the same, I'm actually going to add a little tear this side, but we want to have that as messy, if you like, a neat messy. Does that make sense? A neat messy along that top edge of our paper. Now I do want to cut down the width of this just a little bit. So I'm going to bring in my 12-inch trimmer, and I want it to be around 11.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to cut 1/2 inch off the width of that, like so. And then we can bring in the black cardstock and get this stuck into place. So let's just get that square on our cutting mat. We've cut this down to a smaller width, which is going to give us a nice little frame around that bottom edge of the layout as such. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick this in place, but I don't want to put any adhesive around that top edge of the paper just yet, because we're actually going to be putting other things in behind it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be using my border maker system, I'm going to be using my punches, and I'm going to have little things tucked along that top edge as a decorative feature. So I'm not going to put any adhesive along that top edge of this paper, just so that I'll be able to feed down all those other elements that I want to add. So we're looking for about a 1/4 inch space around the two sides and the base of the background paper, and when you've got that, you can stick that down. I'm going to use my repo tape, of course, in case I need to move anything around last minute. I can. And just keeping away from that top edge, just going to start to stick that down into place. And by not sticking that top edge just as yet, that's going to allow me, you can see, I'm going to have full access to be able to tuck down all the little pieces of the elements that I want to add to this layout. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to have my larger photo here to the side, and then I'm going to layer my smaller photos down this edge of page. So that's sort of, you know, the formation for my layout that I'm looking for, and I will add some bits and pieces to this as well. But next we'll bring in our border maker cartridge. I said I wanted to work with the torn off strip from this paper. You don't have to, you might have another theme paper that you'd like to use, but I'd like to punch a strip using this. However, it's actually quite narrow, and you're going to be feeding this into the arm bracket of the border maker system, which means it could actually slip, or, you know, there's not enough of that to hold into that arm bracket. But I'll share just a quick little tip that I have. I actually have a scrap piece of cardstock here, and I'm actually going to tape my strip of paper to this cardstock. Cardstock's not going to be affected anyway. You could use washi tape, or you could just use craft tape like I've got here. This kind of tape, like washi tape, it's not that sticky, and it's not going to catch on your cardstock or paper and tear it or mark it in any way. So you only want, you know, a lightweight tape to be able to do this. I'm just going to get it in there nice and straight. I'm just going to use a bit of my craft tape just to hold it in place to the cardstock. And this avoids wasting any offcuts of paper. It's a great technique to use. Again, washi tape would be perfect as well if you have a roll of washi tape. So now I can slide that into the arm of the border maker system. And because we've stuck that to the cardstock, it's going to hold it nicely in place. We're not going to waste any at all. So I can put my notebook edge cartridge into the border maker system, and I can punch along that edge. I'm not going to use the full width of the strip. I'm going to cut it down a little bit. I'm going for that distressed sort of look for my layout. So we can get those offcuts out of the way. Now that we've punched that strip, I can just remove my craft tape. So simple. Again, I think in Australia, I think I may have picked this up at Craft Online. Perhaps scrapbook.com has it as well. Or if not, as I said, just go for some washi tape. So we've got our punched edge. Hasn't affected our scrap piece of cardstock at all, so we can continue to use that. And I want to add this to the top of my page, but I don't want any straight perfect lines. I want to sort of cut it down and tear it just that little bit. So I'm going to tear a little from this corner. So we've got a rounded start, like so. Might even just, I've probably gone in a bit too deep there. That works. And I probably want that to go along, probably 2/3 of the way along that top strip. So let's tear it down about there. Nothing's been measured here. This is all by just eyeballing it. If you try and tear paper neatly, it's just not going to work for you. You can't be neat with tearing paper. That's the effect that we're going for. So I can stick that. I think I'll lay that to the top of that page there. And I want to add another paper to the top there. This time, I just want to add a bit of depth. Oh, I love that argyle print. Reminds me of a sweater design. And I love the polka dots. Absolutely love those polka dots. Okay, so I might just tear another thin strip from this paper. You could also, you don't have to tear, you could also just use something like your, with your decky blades, like the decal blade. You could get away with using the colonial blade, anything that's just going to give you that rough edge on your papers. I just decided for fun, we're going to tear and then I'm just going to distress it a little bit with my scissors, which just gives it, it's going to be a little bit rougher than what those decorative blades are going to give you on your 12-inch trimmer. Again, I'm not going to use the full width of this strip. I want to layer that over the first. So we'll tear that off about there. And again, I just want to have a little bit of a rounder start on that corner. So we can lay those two strips there like so. Yeah, really liking that. Next, with my polka dot paper, I'd really like to add a tag or two to the top. So this is where I'm going to bring in my tag punch. I think I may have an off cut of this paper. I've got a small scrap. I don't have to cut into that full-size paper. I'm going to use my tag punch. Again, I will show you how to create a tag if you don't have this in your stash. This allows you the option of creating a 1-inch wide, 2-inch wide, or 2.5-inch wide tag. I only need to see the top of this tag, so we don't need it, you know, to be a really long strip of paper. So I'm going to cut the width at 2.5 inches wide. Like so. And then we can punch, just insert that into the punch, and it's going to give us that lovely tag effect to the top. Like so. So we'll add that as one punch. And again, I'm not going to need all of that length, so I'm just going to cut that away. And we can perhaps layer that here. I'm going to also add some baker's twine to my tag. And then I think I'm going to create, just for a little bit of contrast, I'm actually going to create a tag from some beige cardstock. I'm not going to use my punch to create this tag. I'll show you how you can create, you know, a tag using just your 12-inch trimmer. I think I'll make this one a little wider. So let's cut a 3-inch width. I'm just using my scraps of cardstock that I have. Of course, I'm not going to need the full length of that, so I can cut some of that away. Now to create a tag yourself, you'll just need your hole punch, if I can find mine. I've got my Creative Memories punch here. Okay, so now that I've cut down the width for my tag and I've cut that little bit of length away, I'm going to be working with this 45-degree line on my 12-inch trimmer. So, and I'm going to place the tag, this little strip of cardstock, above the line. And I'm just going to hold that up to the camera to show you. So that's above the line, and I'm placing the corner on this first ruled line here, which is the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so the corner's neatly on there. I've got the tag sitting above the 45-degree line, and I'm just going to cut through. So that removes the first corner. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to repeat the exact same thing for the second corner. Like so. So that's removed both the corners for our tag, and I'm just going to use my hole punch I'm just eyeballing it just to add a hole to the center of the top of that tag, like so. Super simple, and we've created our own tag. So whatever method you use, it will be great. But I'm going to slide that second tag in behind my first punch tag there. Just run a little bit of my repo tape to the back. And that will get stuck to the top edge there. And then we can layer in these little tags. Actually, I might add some twine to my tag before I stick it into place. I probably should have done that with my beige one as well. Just got a little bit of baker's twine here. And I'm just going to add through that loop at the top. You can tie it in a bow if you like, or you can just leave those strands as they are. I think I'll tie mine in a little bow. And you can just pull that bow to the size that you want, and you can cut away those ends to suit. Like so. And I'm going to add another one to my beige tag as well. Just the same thing. I'll just tie a little bow there at the top. I'm happy with that. Make sure he's straight. And then we can stick our second one into place. I'm going to lay that over the top. All right, so I think I'd like to add a few extra elements in behind my photos. Now that I can see them all laid out on the page, I'd like to add a large title. You all know how much I love large titles. So Creative Memories have actually released some more of these alphabet embellishments, and in black, which is just so perfect. So I've bought myself a bundle of these, and I've just created a simple title of family, which I think I will sit to the base of the page here, but I think I'd like to add one of the laser cut borders and just a little bit more of a decorative finish towards the base. I'm thinking I might use the argyle paper here, the argyle print. So yeah, I don't want to have it too wide. Let's say we cut, I'll just move my little title away there. Let's say we cut a 2.5 inch strip. And remembering that our layout is 11, like that base paper is 11.5 inches wide, this paper here, I'm just going to cut a 1/2 inch off the side of that. And I'm thinking that this can sit in underneath these photos at the base. It just gives the layout a little bit of contrast. Yeah, I'm liking that. Just breaks up the background that little, like so. And let's add one of the laser cut borders to the bottom. I've got a scalloped edge, that's quite pretty. Oh, I love these vines. How beautiful are those? That's quite spectacular. That's not bad. Oh, I like the arrows as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to go the arrows. So we could add that to the base there. Perfect. We're going to have to cut this down a little bit. So let's bring in, I had a pencil. I just want to see where it's going to sit, where I cut it. So yeah, I'll just put a little pencil line there. And let's just cut that with our scissors. It is quite thick, being laser cut. There we go. And that can sit at the base of that paper there. And I'm going to place that, let's say, 1.25 inches up from the bottom of that base paper. So this stripy paper. And then we can add our laser cut border. Oh, run out of tape. Happens every time I film. I've got one on hand ready. There we go. So I can add this now to the base of that strip. Perfect. And I'm allowing probably, I don't know, 1/2 inch either side of this designer paper for the photos, if that helps for positioning. Stick down our main photo. And then our final photo will go at the top. So now we can have some fun with embellishing the page. I want my family title to sit at the base here. And I can add some embellishments in behind this title. I've also got room to journal. Add the clock, which would be lovely. Also got those hearts, which I could add here. There's just too much to choose from. I'm loving everything. I've got the key there as well. How beautiful is that? Okay, so what I think I'll do, I'll get this clock stuck down into place. And it's quite intricate, so you just want to be careful when you're adding your adhesive. I'm just popping mine over my silicone mat so that nothing catches, and I'm going to get a good coverage of adhesive over it. And we can add that to the side. And then I'm going to use my ruler just to make sure that I get my title straight. My desk is becoming messier by the second. Put all my letters there. So I can place that there to begin with, and we can just see where we need to sit our ruler. I want to make sure your page is straight on the cutting mat. And I've got that sitting fairly straight there. So now I can go ahead and stick these into place. I know that the base will be nice and straight. So that has our title all lovely on the base there. We can add our hearts. We'll stick the key to them first because I think I'm going to add those with foam squares. So I'll just lay that key over the top. And then I can add these with a foam square or two. And that'll just build that dimension on the layout. Stick those there. And then I'd like to add a sticker from here. And I think I'm going to go with This Is Us. And I'll just layer a little over that heart. So I'm going to need a little small foam square just at the base there, at the back end of that sticker. So that can be added just a little bit over that heart, like so. And then I think I can add something else here to the top, but just what is the question? I've already lost my scissors. Here we go. Let's cut this embellishment in half because then we can use the other half on another project. So tuck that in behind that photo. Yes, I'm liking that. I'll get that stuck down. So it gives the illusion of, you know, just going in underneath that photo, but we've been able to save that for another project. I'll layer another sticker just over the top. I'm thinking maybe we add another heart there. So again, I'm using my foam squares for the heart just to raise that in a nice neat little cluster. Over the top. Okay, so I've just typed out a little quote that I found via Pinterest. And I've done that just on some photo safe paper using a Word document on my computer. I like the aesthetic of having, you know, the tight font for the layout. Okay, so with my quote firmly in place below my title, that completes my layout for today. This was fun to bring together and I hope you've enjoyed watching me scrap this. Do check out the brand new Legacy of Love collection from Creative Memories. I know you're going to love it. I will link it directly below this video. But for now, take care everyone, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.